Alright guys, I am going to be showing you a little bit of face and hair today using Xenia's Ocean Breeze. And as usual, I usually like a variety of pencils. I even have some Black Widow. There's some different brands in here. Shuttle Art, some Prismas, the Colorist, some single stock Faber-Castells that I found at Hobby Lobby. There's Crayola, the different brands of Crayola. There's the two different kinds, the traditional and the newer one. And this one's even one that's by Fila, and again some Prismas. And as you can see, I chose a little bit of a variety of skin tones and hair tones because I'm gonna get a look that looks a little bit like this. And I'm gonna show you how to get those techniques. And first of all, I'm gonna start out with the skin. And when we're doing the skin, you want to layer. You want to start out where it is a light color, and then you want to build it up and put in some of those contour lines, almost like you're doing makeup. So you want to start out with a very, very, very light color on her skin, and you just want to get the base in there. And as I'm going to show you some of these techniques, I may not get the full complete picture painted in the tutorial, but you'll see the finished product at the very end. And I can even tweak that very finished product because I saw some highlights that could be done, added. And you can always go back and add. But when you're doing the face, you definitely do not want to start out with your darker colors first. Even if you're doing a darker skin tone nationality, you always want to start out with something light. This one I know that I want to get a little bit of a peachy tone. So I started out with a very, very light peach, something that I thought might be able to be a base. And I'm quickly getting these in here, so bear with me. This does not have to be solid. It does not have to be a full coverage because you're going to be layering over it. You're just getting a good base. So you have a light base in there, and then you want to come in. If you know that you're going to want a little more peach, you want to kind of tone up around the areas that you know need to be a little darker, especially around the hairline. And this could be more hair that you can put over it. You can always go over that peach as long as you don't do a really thick coat of the first few layers. You can always add more. As you can see, each time you layer, it's going to add a little bit more color and a little bit more color. And up around the areas that are going to touch the hair, you know that there's a shadow there. So just start to darken so that it gives it depth. And you can give depth underneath the eyes. Doesn't have to be a lot. It can be a depth underneath the eyebrow. Sometimes the eyebrow is not actually shown in the drawing. Sometimes you have to draw it in, so you know that once you get that eyebrow in there, you want to do a little bit of darkness underneath. You know that somewhere around the nose and the bridge of the nose, there's shadows. So think of the light as if it's hitting the picture and where you might see a shadow, so that you can start to get some contour in there. And like I said, you're not doing it very dark right now. You know that underneath the chin, there's going to be a shadow. So you're going to start to blend in just a little bit of color, and you'll start to see it almost come alive. And then you want to pick up a little bit more of that peach, and it will start to blend in some of that other darker color that you just added. You want to start to put a little bit more pressure on your pencil so that you start to bring up that color. Follow the contours of the image that you're drawing as you're bringing in some of those colors. If you're trying to build up color, you may want to do There's a lot of different techniques. Like as you see now, I'm doing a little bit of a circular motion to bring in some of that color. Some people will do the crosshatch, which is you're going back and forth, and then you want to just cross over. That will also bring up some darkness in your pigment. But you can see I'm starting to get a little bit of color in the areas that I feel have, the light is basically hitting her here. The shadow from the other side is, you can see it here. You know that this down here is not catching light, so you know that it's going to be a little darker here. You also know that in this area right here, she may have a little rosiness, so you might want to pick a color that has a little bit of pink in it. Unless you're doing warm tones, then you might want to pick up a color that has a little bit of orange in it. And you can see that I'm just adding a little bit of color in here, and I'm going to let that peach blend it in here in just a moment to bring up a little cheekbone. So instead of using a blender, I'm actually using a little bit more of my color pencils to bring up a cheek line here. And as you step back, you can see that you've got your light and dark points, and you just keep building up. And some people may use some of the gamma sols or some of the other oils that may be able to blend. You also have some of the Prismacolors have a light base to them. They're really good for blending. My light gray color goes faster than any because sometimes I'll put up that light gray in there. So if you find a light peach in the Prisma, sometimes that's a good blending. So I do have a light peach, or I have a beige. Either one of them can be used to layer and darken. Add a little bit of color over color. Don't be scared of the skin. If you think about it, it's the lightest color here. You're going to be able to color over it. If you think it's too light to begin with, then you just keep, adding a layer here and there. You don't want to add thick layers to begin with because then you can't add over. All right. So just giving you a little bit of idea of how I have contoured her face. I've got her shadowing here, and that gives you a good look on the face. Now when it comes to the hair, again, you're going to want to start light and you're going to want to go dark. So in my very first picture that I had done, you can see that I have her a little bit of a blonde with the natural brown highlights. Story of my life. As a kid, I always had the blonde hair. Everybody thought I dyed it because it was like 50 shades of blonde.